Gregory, I'd want Max at some point in time to address the fact that he has done some research in Dominica on the influence of Haitian Creole because we have a large Haitian population. He's done some.
We need we pay 4,000 ici en Dominique.
So like, we'll get back to you, but we have Margaret from Grenada who is here to tell us what is happening in Grenada, because Grenada is one of the countries where when we think of Creole, we do not think of Grenada or Trinidad, but they do have the language and they're fighting to preserve it as we are. So Margaret, welcome. Your mic is off. Your mic is off.
We it's now on.
Right, it's on now.
It's on now. Yes, thank you very much, Evelina. Evelina, I like to be called MJ. So I'm happy to be here with all these lovely ladies and gentlemen from all over Kawaii. Well, as you correctly said, the language is seriously endangered in Grenada. I am not extremely young, and I could remember my grandmother and her children, that is my own mother and her siblings, speaking the language fluently in a conversational manner. They never wrote it. Also, my grandmother's neighbors, that is in the village where my mother grew up and where I would spend a lot of time on weekends, there would be people speaking there. Now that would be, to date me now, that would be like about, my goodness, 50 years ago. And today, on that same road where everybody spoke the patois when I was a child, right now, I can count on one hand how many people speak it, because you see, they're senior to me, and year by year they are passing. Now, my mother told me about that same village. That village is Concord, it's on the western side of Grenada. That when she was a child, she would take cooked food, take meals to an elderly lady who lived, I think, next door. And when she got there, she had to speak patois because that lady spoke no English. So when my mother was a child of probably about 10, there would have been people in her vicinity who could not speak English, only patois. If you spoke English to them, they would not necessarily understand the thing. Yet, when I was restoring that ancient house that the Hurricane Ivan destroyed in 2004, I had by then started trying to teach the language. And I actually started a class for children in that village. A little boy came to me. I was puttering around my car. And this boy, he was about 10, and he came to he just stood there. And I said, hello. He said, oh, good afternoon. And he said, good afternoon. I said, do you want something? What is it you want? Tell me. He said, nothing. I said, what do you want to tell me? Nothing. And eventually I said to him, I thought maybe he wants to join the patois class. I said, would you like to come and learn to speak patois? And he did like this. What is that? So right in that same yard, you could say, in my mother's childhood, there were people who didn't speak English. And now here was a 10-year-old boy. When I mentioned the word patois, he asked, what is that?
Reverse has happened.
I said to him, I said, you know what? Go home. When you go home, ask your mother. So that is the stark reality of the trajectory.
But MJ,
and the natural history of the language in Grenada.
But
yes,
what amount of Creole do you actually speak right now? Où ça parle Creole? Ou même où c'est met Société Creole Grenade. Où ça parle Creole?
The Grenada Creole Society was basically started by myself with a group of people in 2009. And the mission, listen to the mission is to learn, teach, research, document, promote, and preserve, or preserve and promote. So that should tell you something. We want to, but we first have to learn it. So I myself, at the age of 7, I learned a little bit from my mother, but I heard a lot. I heard a lot. And when I started to learn it, I had an almost spiritual experience. Maybe the philosophy professor might be able to explain it. At a certain point, when I broke a little barrier and I started to understand how to express myself, I looked into that St. Lucia dictionary that the gentleman was speaking about. I don't remember his name right now, you know.
Hilary Lafos, yeah.
I was using that dictionary, and I remember lying alone in a room, and I had this dictionary in front of me, and I began to understand how to express myself. And all of a sudden, I had a strange experience. I started to hear all the people who are now dead actually speaking the language. And now I understood what it was that I heard as a child and could not understand it. I suddenly realized that I was beginning to understand what it was that some of what they were saying. And it was the strangest thing, because I actually felt as if they were in the room with me. And I sort of, as a medical doctor, I didn't want to tell anybody that, because it might look like if I'm losing my mind, it might affect my practice. So this was quite an admission, which I eventually gained the courage to admit to. So that there is something in the subconscious. And because of that, I think I started to actually express myself. Aha, you let Simon in.
Right. So MJ, tell us something. Tell us a little something. Do you know Kesha and Patwa? Tell us a little something. Let's hear where you are.
Répétez, s'il vous plaît.
Dioti Kesha and Patwa.
Okay. Moi vle parler patois courant. Moi essayer pour cette année pour parler, pour apprendre, pour teach, pour promouvoir langage ancêtres. Oui. Oui?
Oui.
Super, super, super.
Très bien. Merci.
Merci, Simon. Welcome. Simon, I gave you I got the invitation. I didn't know about this, and I'm so happy that you could show up. Yes. So, in Grenada now. Sorry, Simon is saying something.
I was saying thank you for the invitation. I'm late, but happy to join in.
I'm happy to see you there. Well, actually, I'm seeing you. So, in Grenada here, what we found is that people know a lot of patois words, but they do not know how to express themselves. They know words like tombe, and in many of the islands, what we say tombe, other people say tobe. And this is a difference we have in pronunciation. Very often you will find that we put an M before the B.
Right.
So you tombe, chimbe, amba,
So take a
Abba.
pause here, MJ. Take a pause here. We're
Uh-huh.
supposed to have Namdi Hodge from Trinidad. He's supposed to join us, but he's saying he's having problems logging on, as some of you had earlier on. So I need to show a video that he has produced because he's one of those trying to ensure that the language remains alive in Trinidad. And this is the work of Namdi. He was able to capture some of the people in Paramin. I'm not sure if that particular video was shot in Paramin, but these are people living in Trinidad, and that's where they are. So anyway, I wanted to share a bit of what Namdi is doing in Trinidad, and Dr. Joanne Ferrara, she's a linguist at the University of the West Indies, and she has done quite a bit of research on the history of Creole in Trinidad. Trinidad was never colonized by the French, as most of us were, but the French people traveled to Trinidad to find work and brought their maids and manservants with them, and that's how the Creole infiltrated Trinidadian culture, and it is still alive today. So I'm sorry that neither of them has been able to join us, but that is what is happening in Trinidad, and they're struggling like Grenada to keep it alive because in Paramin, it is widely spoken, but they want to make it a little, more, they want it to make it more common in parts of Trinidad. Now, Max, I know you did some research in Dominica in terms of the Haitians and the language and whether or not they're Creole and whether it has somehow influenced Dominica's Creole. What have you found?
Les créoles et son recherche moi commencé et beaucoup fini beaucoup bout et beaucoup bout et ça moi quand chercher à comprendre parce que on y en pile haïtien la Dominique 4000 et ou qu'a trouvé mot haïtien qui a passé en créole Martinique créole Guadeloupe et aussi en créole Dominique mais problème là moi joindre la Dominique et Grégory était là pour aider moi c'est qu'haïtien qui a essayé parler anglais donc a plus parler anglais qui parler créole mais en même temps moi ça moi vrai des conversations on a monté Roseau conversation entre mon Dominique et mon Haïti alors mon Dominique a parlé patois Dominique mon Haïti a parlé créole et ça a fait un mélange entre patois créole haïtien et puis anglais alors ça m'a essayé on peut finir c'est commencer mais ça moi voulais c'est justement comprendre est-ce que ça a une influence et ça a poussé mon Dominique parler créole. Est-ce que haïtien a poussé mon Dominique parler créole? Alors ça pas évident côté oyer parce que plus haïtien qui essayé parler anglais qui créole. Mais les haïtiens Guadeloupe Martinique, ils ont parler créole.
Parce que c'est ça, ils parlent là, ils parlent anglais, ils parlent et je connais français, so.
Je connais petit bien français, mais c'est haïtien qui a fait que je dis jour Martinique, Guadeloupe, collègue là dit que ça pas situation là pas tout à fait ça dit, mais c'est bagaille nous étudions pile et puis étudiants nous quand fait recherche ça c'est ça et c'est parce que nous n'y influence parce qu'on joue un mot Jamaïque en créole Guadeloupéen ou Martiniquais quand je pile à les jeunes monde jeunes en maille ou quand joindre mot anglais patois jamaïcain. Donc, on mélange, on migranage, on mélange créole, nous qu'à joindre dans tous ces pays là, qui Martinique, qui Guadeloupe, qui la Dominique.